Hello, dear audience. This is Lena with you and Black Mountain Talks, and today I'm joined by Mike Mihajlovic for our regular military update on the situation. And this week and the past week, they were very dense in events, so we have a lot to discuss. And I think today we should start with the topic many of us woke up to. It is like Iran and Pakistan exchanging strikes.
Mhm.
And Mike, what do you think? What could that possibly mean? Because it's a very
Mhm.
ambiguous thing for people who are like not very well aware of what Pakistan is and
Mhm.
what are its
Yeah.
interrelation with Iran and what it could
Mhm.
possibly result in.
Yes, its situation is pretty much unclear for now because what we have if you look at an overall picture, we may have situation that it is like orchestrated clash between two countries. For instance, the Iranians are hitting in their opinion, terrorist bases which are located close to the common border in Balochistan, and Pakistanis is retaliating against also terrorists in their opinion, which are located in Iran. So this can be one situation. The other situation is that those countries, their secret services, intelligence services, they cooperate, so it is like joint actions. So one side will strike terrorists in one country, the other side will retaliate and hit the terrorists on the other side, pretend to rise the tension between two countries, and which will look like it is going to escalate to any to some kind of larger or maybe even regional war. On the other hand, other option will be regarding that situation is really serious because these two countries didn't cooperate with each other, didn't talk to each other. Then Iran strike first, Pakistani responded, and it's electrifying public on both sides. But regarding to the second option, what is interesting, if you analyze that, the question will be like in any serious investigation, who benefits from that? Who benefit for the from the war between two countries? Obviously, somebody who is pulling the money and investing the money and have a interest to have a regional war there. Who that can be? I mean, it's pretty clear. It can be Israel or it can be U.S. Because U.S. Have really United States. They have a really huge interest in Pakistan, and they want to have enemies on Iranian borders. In this case, it will be seen Iranian is simply surrounded by U.S. enemies, to say. Israelis, of course, they it's arch enemy. Iran is arch enemy for Israel, and Israel more than anything would like Iran to be busy fighting some other countries on behalf of Israel. So everything is possible, and of course, in the intelligence in the murky intelligence world, nothing is clear. But when we look at the situation, who benefits? So Israel can benefit because Iranian will be busy with other stuff. U.S. will benefit because U.S. will put a wedge on Eurasian integration. They can they can create a war between neighbors. They can put a wedge between China and Iran. So benefit on higher level. Israel will benefit only on that basically operational level because Iranians will be busy dealing with Pakistan. Now, Pakistan is divided society. Since they have that soft coup a few years ago, disposing the previous, I think, Imam Khan is the name of the former prime minister. Society is divided. So the pro former prime minister and opposite to him, and of course, U.S. is behind that coup. We can say that even it is obvious. I mean, somebody may ask where are the proofs. But when you look at that first option, in the first question, who is benefiting for that? It is clear. So destabilization in that region, it works both for Israel and also for the U.S. On the other side, if Iran and Pakistan have some behind the scene deals that I mentioned already. So one side will attack, then the other side will attack as well. It will create some tension. It will be a lot of heated discussion, protests on both sides. But in the end, nothing is going to happen except a little bit of rattling. It can be simply some kind of maskirovka regarding to the whole situation. Just put a little bit of dust into the eyes of Israelis and U.S. So it's look like those two countries are on the brink of the war, but actually they cooperate with each other. The situation is not clear because there is many variables in this equation to say. So we will see. We will see how and where it goes. Definitely, if the war erupts between Pakistan and Iran, Israel is going to benefit from that. Iran, in recent days, they show how they're powerful, their power and how powerful they are because they struck 1,200, 1,300 kilometers from their territory, those bases which they declared as a Mossad bases. And I believe that they have very solid evidence that indeed those locations were either Mossad or work for people, or they have a people who work for Mossad. Those locations in Syria and Iraq are the first one. Of course, there is one huge or couple of huge assets of Israel in Azerbaijan, which is actually the closest to Tehran regarding to the geographical distances. But for now, there is no tension. There is no open clashes between Azerbaijan and Iran. It may happen one day. Everything depends what will be the interest of those who pull the who pulled the figures on in that region, and of course, engaging Azerbaijan against Iran, especially regarding to the Nakhchivan corridor or Zanzibar corridor between Iran and between Azerbaijan and their enclave Nakhchivan. It is potential crisis area for clashes. So the situation is getting very fluid and a bit confusing, but everybody need to keep in mind that behind the scene, intelligence services are working, and I'm sure 100% that Pakistani intelligence and Iranian intelligence are working together to solve if they have any issues at all. So we will see. But if this is not correct that I'm saying, then we will have a regional war, and from that regional war, only Israel can benefit.
Yeah, that's very interesting because okay, of course, I've read through some Telegram channels. I do not want to advertise them here, but to sum up, the conclusion was like this: that it was like a joint operation, Iran versus Pakistan, to get rid of some gray zone. Because
Yes.
people who got hit, they as if they were not Iranian on the pool and not Pakistani on the pool.
Yes, that area, Balochistan, is basically undeveloped region, the most undeveloped region in both countries, even more undeveloped in Pakistan. And I flew times over that area. It's mountains, desert, so. What can prosper in that area is basically smuggling routes, narcotics, weapons, name it. So that area is, I would say, it's very fertile ground for any kind of illegal activities to form illegal forces. They can call them terrorists, whatever. So. Yeah, it's a fertile ground for that kind of activities, and this is actually a good opportunity for both sides to exchange fire on the other side and get rid of those who may potentially create problems down the road for both countries. As I said, it's still unclear, but in the next few weeks we will have more clear situation what is really going on there.
Yeah, and today I have also, before preparing for the stream, it was like maybe 15 minutes before, I have read by RIA Novosti that if I'm not mistaken, Iran said that Pakistan was like overreacting and it violated, not quite cooperation, but I didn't know that Iran's reaction was as if delayed, but it was like, as I see it, it was very
Yeah, I mean,
it was
yeah, it
it was
was.
present. Yeah,
Uh, in the press or in media, we can read everything because everything can be written there. Is that true or not? Time will tell. But this, I have a feeling at this moment, this very moment, that it is just a big game because they have to show their determination. They have to show the strength, both countries, and of course they have to show something that for those who influence stuff inside. With this, I mean. Especially Pakistan, because Pakistan is cooperating with US on the large scale, weapons, ammunition, and that stuff. So, and again, there are two major groups in Pakistani society. One supporting as I mentioned, one supporting the previous prime minister. Other one is more pro current government, and we know how the current government actually got into power through some kind of orchestrated coup, or call that revolution, whatever. And the roots, and if you follow the money, follow the strings, they're overseas. Those strings are leading to overseas locations, to say. So
but
we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe this for now it's look like intelligence game, very very well placed intelligence games, playing the good, the bad guys, rattling weapons, retaliation, but in the background it may be really something that people who are in charge, who pull the triggers, who pull the strings in those countries, not the guy who pulled the string overseas. Uh, so those two guys in Iran and Pakistan, they know what they're doing. I believe that for now, until some new information pop up. But we will see.
no, yes, I also hope so, because otherwise the two countries with, as if Iran as if has nuclear weapons, and Pakistan has nuclear weapons, well, it can end like in
Yeah,
in a very
in exchange.
unpredictable manner.
Yeah, regarding to that, I believe that Iran, if they don't have that already, they're very close to get it. So nobody will play that nuclear option, even if they don't have some very solid background. Again, it's a top of the top secrets. So, but according to some information that I'm getting from site and from people in that area, yeah, there it is probable that they already have it. Not a large number, but something that can put a firm deterrence if somebody, for instance, decide to attack Iran. And we know that Israeli they have nuclear warheads, so they can do that. But that unknown factor, does Iran really have that or not? It's something that maybe still keep U.S. and Israel really to openly attack Iran. So for now, it's that underground activities, not really with Israeli citizens operating in Iran, but with the Iranians who are opposed to the regime and work for Israelis for one or another reason. And they have that fifth column in the Israelis. They have fifth column in Iran, and it's pretty widespread. Uh, so we'll see. It's a big intelligence behind the scene game over there.
Yeah, it looks like, yeah, they say that East is like a very descent thing, and it's really is.
Yeah.
And a thought suddenly crossed my mind about China. If there is major instability in Middle East, it will of course affect China and some of the Chinese interests, because Pakistan as if was in Chinese
Mhm.
orbit for a while.
Yes, and of course, when you have Pakistan on one side, automatically by default you will have India on the other side. It's similar situation with Turkey and Greece and Armenia and Azerbaijan. So whatever, if one side is one country is on in one team, the other country will be in another team. It's simply geopolitical reality for now.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's move on maybe to Houthis who
Mhm.
were like exchanging strikes with the US. What do you think
Yeah,
about that situation?
yeah, Houthis, the poorest country in the Middle East, country that had 9 years of war, bombing, attacks from the coalition, is now hitting hard. And the only country that really has enough spine, uh, enough stamina to stand against Israeli onslaught on Gaza. Somebody can call that genocide. Yeah, I mean it's pretty close to that. So Houthis are the only one who stand and who keep their word. So they're attacking Israel, and Israel is doing now whatever they can to mobilize countries around, and of course their allies. U.S. is the first one, and UK is the second one. So to use them to try to uh, pacify, let's say, to pacify Houthis one or another way. Uh, Houthis, what is interesting with them? First, they're very experienced in fighting overwhelming forces, foreign forces. They fought against Saudi Arabia, UAE, Morocco. Uh, for 9 years, those countries bomb Yemen, and Yemen simply Yemenis are so adapted to that stuff. If we call that adapted, they that they inflicted severe casualties on the coalition, but also they're put in some kind of the corner because they have nothing to lose. They can only lose their life, but they're gladly to do that because they have a goal, and the fighting against determined opponent with that kind of attitude simply it's impossible. The coalition can't win that. US and UK, they can bomb Houthis, they said storages, warehouses, whatever, but Houthis are not naive. For 9 years they're spreading all their assets, they scatter that, they mask that, they're using a lot of uh, site like improvised sites for their launchers. So it is simply impossible to destroy Houthis arsenal. They can try, US and UK, they can try to deplete that, but obviously Houthis and their advisor, they have Iranian advisors, let's be clear with that. They have such amount of weapons, especially rockets and missiles, so they can inflict serious casualties. And with the latest attack, the only achievement that US and UK get is that actually now they effectively close the Red Sea for the US and British ships. Because bear in mind, Houthis, they are not attacking random. They're attacking ships which bear the cargo for Israel or affiliated with Israeli companies. They were clear in that. People just need to read what Houthi said. So there, it's not like a terrorist attack on any random shipping. No, it's not. It's simply not true. Houthi is attacking Israeli ships, but they first call to stop, and if the ship doesn't stop, then they will attack. U.S. tried to organize a coalition which failed because the countries simply didn't want to participate. Now they they have now they said that they have coalition with some NATO countries like Netherlands, Canada, then I think Bahrain, which is not NATO country, but of course they are.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm wrong with when I mentioned Bahrain, but let's say some not even military powers. And when they said that Canada participates or Netherlands participate, it's like a few staff officers in some of the planning boards drinking coffee, sending emails, and pretending to participate in operations. So this is U.S. and this attack is U.S. and UK attack. But I can say that we can see Israelis are pulling the strings because this is the way how Israel can counter Houthis. Israel doesn't have enough power, maritime power. They can maybe arrange bombing attacks, but they will fly over the so-called enemy territories. So using UK and the U.S. Air Force or Naval Air Force. to do that for them. It's basically really worse for Israel. And in this case, I have a feeling that actually Israel is orchestrating who is going to do what and where. US and UK are just executioners. But they tried with this attack. They destroy something. They show how they hit the targets. But as I said, this Houthis, they disperse their assets. So those buildings, they're basically empty. Just dumping bombs on something which is worthless. And the military achievement is simply zero. But what was surprising, very surprising for me, is that Egypt allow, according to some maps, U.S. No, not U.S. UK fighters which took off from Cyprus to flow over Egyptian territory. Maybe they didn't, because I don't have maybe I don't have all information available. But they flew over Egypt, use Egyptian airspace. Is an armed planes. It's not just a transit route of unarmed assets. So they bomb, they refuel over the Saudi Arabia or Red Sea, and they return back. So in this case, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan, they're acting as a transit routes, transit countries, and of course, like first line of air defense to Israel. Likely or not, legally there is if combat assets fly over their territories, they're entitled to engage it. But this entitlement actually put them as a forward Israeli air defense. Not criticizing those countries, but the fact is they're acting like a forward air defenses. What that mean for the politicians? Of course, there are reasons they have reasons, but for the ordinary people, I bet that ordinary people in Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan are not happy that their governments allow Israel bombing sorties to go over their territory, or their AD to intercept Houthis missiles. On the other hand, legally, yes, they have a right to do that, and of course, those rockets and missiles, they can deviate from their trajectory and hit the civilian population. So this is some kind of self-defense, one or another way. But in the background, there is something much deeper, and the whole region, the whole situation is getting more complicated. And again, Houthis are the only country that really has stamina, that really has the spine to stand by their words. Not talking about is that rightful or not, but they said that they're going to do whatever they can, whatever is their power, to protect Palestinians, and they're doing that. So there is no empty talks like some other countries. I don't want to name them, but we know who those countries are. So Houthis are keeping their word, and I believe that Houthis will stop as soon as the aggression Israeli on Gaza stops. So that is their goal, and the Houthis, no matter how poor they are, how bad they're equipped, if the bad is really appropriate word for that, but they will do anything they can, and there is nothing that US and UK and Israel can do except maybe use some dirty tricks over them. US is not going to invade Houthis or Yemen by any means, because US is simply too weak. They're going to bomb it. They're going to bomb it. It will be more bombing raids. Surveillance drones are flying over Yemen non-stop. Satellites are circling almost non-stop. So that US and of course puppet UK, they're trying to get as much information as they can, and also they want to prevent Iranians to ship any advanced weaponry there. So there's the reason why they have some casualties, because the U.S. Navy SEALs, as they said, they tried to board the ship in the middle of the sea. So if this is really correct assumption, because there are some talks that actually Houthis hit U.S. ship, but we don't know yet. And it's too early to have any conclusions regarding to that. But this is just the beginning. So we will see. Houthis, they're not going to stop. Now they can attack ships in the Red Sea. They can attack ships in the Gulf of Aden. They can even with Iranian support, they can attack ships in the Indian Ocean. So to put a drone on some like a wooden boat and send that in the Indian Ocean so that they can hit a tanker into Israel or even maybe LNG ships. Yeah, there is possibilities. And bear in mind, Bab el Mandeb Strait is narrow, and the Houthis, no matter how poor they are, how poor their country is, they're equipped more than enough to effectively shut down that strait. They're not doing that yet because they're not in the war against other countries except Israel and most recently US and UK. So, and we can see now that the shipping routes and insurance companies, they're simply sending all ships around Africa because nobody want to risk. Nobody want to risk their investment, their money, sending their assets into the danger zone. And of course, there is Somalia there, of course, because those pirates they need to leave. They need to grab a few ships here and there. So it's a pretty tense situation. On the other side, in the Hormuz Strait, yeah, it is Iranian. Yeah. Iranians can easily take control of that. If they shut down that strait, it will be chaotic situation, especially in Europe, because no fuel.
That's true.
Yeah, those strategic games are very dangerous now. We are now going into the very dangerous waters. But all of these events actually turning news from the war in Ukraine. Now Ukraine is on the backstage, and Russia is rolling over. Russia is doing whatever according to the plan. Special military operation is going according to their plan. It's a war of attrition, simply. There is no doubt that in this war of attrition in Ukraine, they're grinding. They're grinding Ukrainian manpower. They're grinding Ukrainian equipment, and Europe is going to start. Europe is going to send more and more, and it will be a lot of rattling, a lot of heated speeches. But it is on the in the end, those with more stamina, with more patience, that side is going to win.
Yeah, but now it looks like this, that prices are already going up in Europe, and because of this crisis in the Middle East too, because of
exactly.
fuel and so on. So the production costs will also increase.
Exactly.
And it is like, it is like a snowball. It rolls and rolls and rolls, and problems as it become bigger and bigger and bigger. And what it will result for Europe, that's a big question.
Yeah, and the European industry and economy is based on the cheap sources of energy. There is no cheap sources of energy anymore. Cheap was Russian gas, and they shoot themselves in both feet regarding to that issue. Now they're buying U.S. LNG, which is tenfold expensive. And bear in mind that if the situation escalates in the Middle East, it will be no Qatar LNG or UAE LNG or oil, and European economy easy can become a cart without brakes moving down the very steep slope.
And what do you think if, say, economical situation in Europe becomes worse? Is it possible that like people would be, well, I think it's a quite wild guess now, but if, say, Ukraine requires people to fight Russia, and could they possibly like use the chance to use European population as source of people to draft? Because if people have have nowhere to work, and they will be like invited, say, oh, if you want money, you can go to Ukraine
you can
join.
Yeah, you can join the military, and but you know what? I don't think that it will be anytime soon, because European societies somehow deviated from the situation when money was available, jobs are available, everything was cheap. For the higher standards of living, in a few years, the standard in many countries is going down. Now we have a protest of farmers and food producers actually now protesting, especially in Germany, regarding to the prices. And governments, they're trying to balance, they're trying to play games, but people are not naive. They can try to sell the stories one or another way, but people are not naive. And also, what is a potential danger in Europe now? Influx of refugees can create tense situation, even clashes, religious clashes, ethnic clashes. Which will actually benefit government because they can put more sharp laws like a martial law controls and if you look for the source of that, follow the money, and money is now those who lead that they're now in Switzerland the last few days.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So
And they were
yeah,
very free in discussing our future.
I mean, I hope that people are not stupid, but once when you polish people for years with something and give them something else to think, like somebody else is the enemy, you can channel them against each other, and so that they will not see who the real enemy is. As I said, those who pulling those strings and who will pull the triggers one day, they are now gathered in one place, one small Swiss town.
Because I see Europe now is like in a dead end because it was proclaimed that Russia must not win, not in any case Russia must
Mhm.
win, and we must defeat Russia on battlefield and strategic defeat of Russia. All
It's not
that was
possible.
said quite clear, and now we see that situation is well different from what it was planned.
Mhm.
And if say Poland will be the next one to be thrown into the conflict, is it possible?
No, I don't think so because Russia doesn't have any interest except to solve the problem with Ukraine. Russia doesn't have any territorial disputes with Poland. Uh, where problem can arise is those Baltic states because they're now barking and barking a lot. See, because they think that they're secure regarding to their membership in NATO and EU. Bear in mind. That what may happen is that they will follow the Ukrainian path. There is considerable Russian population there, so they can start to restrict rights like a normal human rights with that they talk about in EU, so that it can create like a artificial crisis, and this is one of the possibilities. But between Russia and Poland. They have only that share border in Kaliningrad Oblast, Kaliningrad region. So Poland doesn't have any interest to fight Russia because simply that will be open interference of NATO. Even if Poland want to get their territories, their claimed territories like
Yeah.
Volyn, Lviv, that western Ukraine that was before Lenin and Stalin gave that to Soviet Union. The fact is that was Austro-Hungarian or Polish territory. So Poland, there are plans. They have a plans how to occupy those territories. They will do that. They will do that only if they have secret agreement with Russia. And Russia doesn't have any interest in Western Ukraine. It will be just a problem for Russia to do that. Russia will protect their population, Russian-speaking population, and they want to denazify and basically disarm Ukrainian military. Ukraine is now fighting only and leaving only because the help from other countries. Uh, I want to point one thing: the Western people, if they have to choose between their own lives, their own skin to say, their own well-being and Ukraine, of course that they will take care of themselves. Who cares about Ukraine anyway? If the situation is getting worse for the living for ordinary Europeans, governments are different because governments, as I said, everything point from one area. Everything point from that town in Switzerland. Of course, the European Union, useless European Parliament, except few normal representatives. But we'll see. This is not something that is going to turn overnight. Who can fight Russia? If NATO decide to fight Russia, that will be the end of all of us, because Russia is not going to back down. Russia is going to win this war in Ukraine. I really have no doubts. They are going to achieve their goals, one or another way. And it was clear from the beginning, because it is not something that Russia will let just pass by. And 20% of those in Ukraine that inflict damage on 80% of other Ukrainians, more or less will be let to deal with somebody else. So let's say that 20% will maybe go to other countries. So there is a chance for part of Ukrainians to be part of EU if EU will exist in a few years. But we will see. I mean, all of this is just speculations. I don't believe it will be any major war. NATO can rattle sabers around the Kaliningrad borders or in Baltic countries. It is basically just show of force. NATO doesn't have anything to counter Russia except the Air Force. If they engage Air Force, it's end of the story for all of us. Period. There is no history after that. History will be written by bugs, those who that will survive nuclear war. So economy, Western countries, Canada, US, talking about economy, but bear in mind, we are on the West. We are service economies. Production a long time ago, the major production went to other countries, went to China, for instance. So yeah, we have a very strong banking system, and of course, it's not my field of expertise, but banking is a lot of big stories, putting stuff from empty to vacant and vice versa. Yeah, this is the strength in the West.
Yeah, because production is not anymore, because production has moved elsewhere, and we all can see that.
Yeah, I'm looking at stuff in Canada. We have 90% service economy, like some. Regarding to manufacturing, what we have here, it's some construction materials, gypsum, 2x4 for the construction. 2x4 is, everybody knows that in the West.
Yeah.
So we have that stuff. We have automotive industry, but it's not actually production. It's assembling from the parts imported from other countries. So so many production facilities. For instance, in Toronto, when I drive, you can see 90% of warehouses, some kind of sales or whatever, and only 10% of the stuff is really that they manufacturing something. And that is sad. From 1940s, 1950s, it was really heavy production here. Now services, fast food. Unfortunately, that's, and construction, of course. People still coming because country is still strong economically, because we have that banking sector. But when you look at the prices, how things are changing in Canada, and I bet it's even worse in Europe. When you go to the store and buy stuff, doesn't look good, really.
Yeah. So
yeah,
it is like, well, it is like that.
Yeah, and now when you ask somebody, oh, the Russians are our enemies, or Iranians or Chinese are our enemies, or Martians are our enemies, we have to join the military and fight them. The problem is that Western militaries, there is no recruits. Nobody want to enlist to serve. Even in the US, I think they are short for 25,000. It's a division, and slightly more than division. 25,000 people are short their military. In UK, more people leave the military than enlist. Canada is the same. Canadian reserve units are struggling to find recruits. Regular forces as well. Equipment is old. Now this war in Ukraine, actually, we got rid of our junk in Canadian military, especially. We got rid of our junk, old munition, old equipment. So that we said help to Ukraine will now boost, let's say, that production. But it's so tiny. Canada is so tiny, so minimal, that Canada can fight more than 2 days for the with anyone. This is the sad state of Canadian military. We have all those royals, queen's own, king's own, princess, prince, or whatever. Yeah, it's good to have that on the paper, but equipment is old, and this war in Ukraine actually helped Canada as a country, as a military, to get rid of junk, old useless equipment, old munitions, so that at least army can start to replenish. Army forces can replenish stuff. The same is in U.S. All the money that they talk about, they went to Ukraine. Actually, 70 or 80% is going to the military investment. I'm intentionally, I'm not saying military industrial complex, because there is no, it's military investment complex. So money is invested back to the military industry, uh, and those CEOs and the board of directors, and just look who is sitting on those board of directors, all of those retired generals and admirals. Yeah, so and follow the money, and you will see where the source of trouble is.
Yeah, source of trouble for everyone. But you know what I was thinking? Because as if they have like a capacity to give boost to military production. On the other hand, the economics say something different because other prices go up. If we had
Yeah,
like energy prices as low as they were, and like steel and so on, if it was as cheap as it used to be, then most probably outcome was a bit different. But now we are in a situation when one tank maybe is, I don't know the pricing, of course, but I can just
5 million,
imagine.
5+ million, easy dollars. Because,
So
as you said, steel material, look, just steel production in US. I don't know how many steel mills are still in operation. Just a couple in Canada. I think one is in Hamilton, and I'm not sure about the West, but we have to import steel components, as I said, for the automotive industry. That stuff is built somewhere else, shipped to Canada, and assembled. Not too many things are really made in Canada, from the drawing board design to the manufacturing and warehousing. So that production chain is a bit interrupted. But we will see. Those who pretend to know economy, that taking care of that.
yeah, sometimes I really think that they pretend that they know it. And
Yeah, just
another question,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Go ahead, go
another
ahead.
question related also to munition. There were reports of Germany and France like supplying Scalp and Taurus missiles to the Ukraine, and as if German generals refused to do that, they said no, we're not doing it. Well, if they are supplied, what consequences can it have?
Well, German Parliament, I think the vast majority voted against, or
Yeah.
two-thirds voted against of sending Taurus cruise missiles, which is very positive. Germany, at least now we can see that there are sane people in Parliament. France is always like a poodle. France is playing games between try to act as is important factor between US, UK. So yeah, they're going to send Scalp. They're going to send guided munition maybe they will send even Mirages fighters or bombers to Ukraine. But first they have to train pilots, of course. Bombs and cruise missiles and howitzers. They're most they can produce them in reasonably fast way and ship to Ukraine. France is they're facing their own problems. France is on France is a country which is on the slope, not so steep slope, but the brakes are giving up. This is how I see France. They have their internal problems. They're trying. Macron is trying to play tough guy. From time to time, he got slammed when he go to the public. Virtually got the slam to the face. That is clear picture of the value of French government and French politics, and of course playing the tough guys, supplies to supply Ukraine. Yeah, if they see that it works for them, so be it. But their capacities to produce that stuff are far less than Ukrainian capacity of spend it. So Ukrainians are spending that faster, 10 times faster than France, Germany, UK, US can produce. US now they shut off the tap, so the valve is closed. The official valve, so it will be some down the beneath the table deals sending stuff there. But now Russia will fight UK and France for some extension also. German supplies, and we'll see what is going to happen. German weapons didn't perform really well on the battlefield. Actually, it was almost like a catastrophe. UK, they lost few those tanks that they sent. Now they urgently withdraw them from the front line, keeping them in the storages deep in the rear, in the Ukrainian rear, like almost their German King Tiger tanks from the World War II, so scarce to use. France, they're not sending tanks. Their artillery is okay, but it's a drop in the water on the Ukrainian battlefield. And again, war of attrition. Whatever they send to Ukraine, one or another way, is going to break on their own because too complicated, over-engineered, not suitable for the intense fight like in Ukraine. It is excellent to apply, let's say, in the desert against I don't know, name any rebel group, or maybe to before put that in Afghanistan in some bases and from time to time fire a few shells per day. But in Ukraine, in that kind of conditions, field conditions, and the volume of fight, it's simply not up to the task. Good old Soviet stuff, which is sturdy, ugly but sturdy, and it will work. It will break, of course, but it's much easier to fix. Anything from West shipped to Ukraine, if let's say mid-level repair is needed, they have to be sent it back, because nobody's crazy enough from the France or UK to go and work right behind the Ukrainian lines. Most of the Ukrainian casualties are actually in those rear echelons, in the rear of the front line during the rotations. Because bear in mind, Russian intelligence, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They pinpoint location. They hit those locations. They see, they assess what is the situation. They hit it again if necessary, and again and again. So war of attrition on its best, I would say, and it works only for one side.
I see. Yeah, because there were reports of today, if I'm not mistaken, that there were targets hit again in Kharkov, and about 60 French people were like deceased during that.
Well, it's hard to for us who we don't have those proper information, because intelligence people, they're not going to share with us exact numbers, of course. But when you said French, most likely French advisors, former foreign legionnaires. Bear in mind that foreign legion is foreign, so most people are foreigners except officers probably. So there's plenty of Ukrainian citizens who enlisted to the French Foreign Legion, who were sent back voluntarily or by the order. Also, there are advisors who intelligence officers. So Russia is. They have agents. They have human intelligence. They have electronic intelligence, visual intelligence, name it. So if they said that they hit the building with the foreigners, they hit the building with the foreigners. So it's not like a foreign cook school or chef training camp. Those guys are probably participants in the combat, or very close advisor to Ukrainian units. So is it 60, 50, or 70? Well, hard to say. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah. And here it's also, it looks like if Russia wanted to escalate the case more, they could have used that and say, we have your people from France, from Germany participating in the Ukraine, and like same munition, because if Scalps and Taurus would have been transferred to Ukraine, Russia could have used that and say that you are the producers and you are responsible for that.
Yeah, I mean, Russia can use that, but for now,
if they wanted to.
Yeah, if they wanted. But bear in mind that 90% of that stuff was downed before, or disabled before even reached to the Russian targets. So those 10%, they will even less, maybe 5%, that hit something in Russian territory like Sevastopol or Feodosia or anywhere, Donetsk Republic, whatever they hit. Of course, it's air defense is not 100% penetration proof, so it can happen. But Russia is learning lessons. So every time that when they have success, yeah, Russia improved. One day maybe it will simply be enough, and they decide to hit sources. But for now, they're just hitting the locations in Ukraine. When the stuff is when for instance, let's talk about French scalp. When they pack that stuff when the plane from France land into Poland, and they load that into the trucks. In Poland, there are people who will pass information to Russian intelligence. Then somebody in Ukraine, on the western Ukraine, they will pass information about the trucks moving. Then those trucks will be followed. It's not in Russian interest to hit that truck individually, each individual truck on the road. They will wait until they put them in some storages, maybe underground. Let's say they're going to some of those airports. Khmelnytsky, I think it's a big one, where they put stuff in some of those underground storages. Then people, Russian agents in the field, they will say, okay, in such and such bunker, there is a delivery of, let's say, 10, 20, 15, whatever. So Russia will send drones, satellites. It will follow. They will not attack right away. They will follow 24/7 what is going on in the base. And when they send Kinjal to hit that storage, I'm pretty sure 100% that they know exactly what they hit and what was located there.
I see.
Yeah. So it's the way how things work. It's not public. Nobody will say, "Oh, we have such and such agent, or we have such and such number of agents there." Often people from Ukrainian military sympathize with Russia. They're on the high-ranking positions. But bear in mind, also in Russia, there are people in Russian military, people who are sympathetic to Ukrainian stuff. So they're passing information to the other side. It's a big game. It's a really, really big game. Shadow game. And trust me, you don't want to be involved in that.
Oh, sure. Because now, as I follow the conflict, I see that the major war is fought elsewhere, and only tiny part that we'll see is going on the battlefield. The rest is like all over the place, and we don't know where.
Yeah, it's what all over the place. And when Russia said that they hit headquarters or a field position, command position, field center, yeah, they hit field center, and it's not something that they will hit randomly. They will do surveillance for days, maybe even month. Follow the trucks, follow the vehicles. And once when they have firm confirmation for the multiple sources, then they will hit. The other side is doing that too. See, the biggest asset in Ukraine is not actually Ukrainian intelligence, but intelligence that was provided by the NATO. So that is the biggest asset. Ukrainians are just executioners. The pilots will take off with Su-24M, get to the certain point, launch a missile, and go back. If even or maybe not if they are intercepted, but targeting information, it's coming from the NATO sources. Ukraine doesn't have radars to see deep into the Russian territory, but there is a NATO planes orbiting all 24/7 around Russian borders, recording frequencies, recording conversation between the units. Intelligence people, people who doing that stuff, they can recognize individual unit, individual platoon, even individual batteries. So they're trying to trigger that to see what kind of, for instance, air defense, their position, what kind of frequencies they're using. So it's a cat and mouse game. That information are transferred to the Ukrainian and NATO planners in the joint command centers to plan operation. So, for instance, when they hit ships in dry docks in Sevastopol, at least 3 to 4 days before that, it was constant flights around, recording situation. Satellites took information. Everything was relayed to the planners. Alternative routes to avoid Russian air defense are calculated for the Storm Shadow or Scalp missiles, whatever they used. So it is a big operation that involved foreigners and NATO advisors and Ukrainians. And of course, Ukrainians will take off with their planes and launch it. They're just the ones who are going to do the that walking job, to say. But plans
Yeah.
are coming from the intelligent assets, from the NATO spy planes. Name it. Are they manned or unmanned? Doesn't really matter. And they're pretty good in that. They're really good in that.
Yeah.
And Russia now countering that. So I think yesterday or this morning they block, for instance, GPS signals over Poland,
Yeah,
majority
I
of the
read
Poland.
that
Yeah.
too.
So
Yeah.
it's if they're able to block GPS signal, yeah. So they have a pretty strong electronic warfare capacities in that area. It is one of the signs, so that you're playing games against us, we are playing games against you. What can also happen? Russian assets in the Middle East, they can actually feed Houthis with data about the position of shipping lines, and Houthis can simply program their missiles and hit right on spot. It's a tit for tat, to say. You do something against us, we will hurt you in another way. And again, if you go back to Iran now, they hit those targets 1,200 kilometers from Iranian territory, which is well within the striking distance, all Israeli targets. If the situation escalates, Iranians can hit Dimona nuclear power plant, and there is no way that Israelis can stop, even if they have those anti-ballistic missiles around, multi-layered stuff. They can hit the Israeli airports, air bases. So we hope that it will not happen, because it will be a major escalation. But it was clear message. You do stuff against us. You organize terrorist attacks on Iranian territory. Yeah, let's see how we can do that against you. And see, this is the way how we can hit you. And let's see who is going to pull the trigger next.
Yeah, and here I have also a couple of questions. First of all, well, today in the morning there were in the European morning there were reports on supposedly Ukrainian attacks on Saint Petersburg, and whether it was Tochka U missile, whether it was like a man aerial
Yeah,
airplane,
UAV.
and
Yeah, I don't know details really about that, because I was busy with something else this morning and doing something else. But yes, obviously they will try to do that. If it's Tochka U, it's a ballistic missile, but it has to be launched from a very close distance. Maybe they can even put that on the ship. I would say it's more like UAV involved, because they can launch that from, let's say, Baltic countries. Anybody can smuggle that in some of those Baltic countries and launch from the countryside. I
so
don't
like
know.
an attack on Pskov, I think attack on Pskov was
Yeah,
carried out from Latvian
yeah.
territory.
It's so it's a dangerous game. Those Baltic dwarfs, to call them chihuahuas. Or no offense to people, but it's basically talking about their politicians. Those Baltic countries are playing with dangerous stuff, and if they continue with that, simply don't poke the bear. Don't poke the bear, because if the bear is getting angry, it can be really problematic. So I wouldn't be surprised, not at all, that let's say UAV was launched from one of those Baltic states. It is very easy to do that. It is very easy, because they can put that into the SUV, they put that in pickup or truck, put that somewhere in the field, side road, whatever, and launch it. So it will strain your Russian AD, because they have to put that air defense on alert in those large cities and around bases. But it is what it is. So they have to do what they have to do. If I doubt that it was launched from Ukraine, it can be launched, let's say, against Belgorod or Voronezh. So something which is with a short distance. They can launch against Moscow. but Moscow, it's hard really to penetrate AD there. And this will actually cause Russia to try to move borders, future borders, out of any conventional UAV or cruise missile range. So that will be 500 kilometers. So I believe that one day the border will be can easily be on the Dnieper River, because that will be far away from the uh, potential targets in the current Russian territory. Of course, if they annex all of those territories, it will be considered Russian territory as well. But dangerous games are played in Ukraine, and sometimes it's look like that those who pull the strings, they don't know what they're doing.
Well, I have the same feeling now. And, probably situation is underestimated or overestimated. I don't know from which side to look, but after all, I think maybe society lacks that like clear points of view, more balanced points of view. And if it was present more in the society, then probably people would have thought otherwise. And
Yeah, and what media doing? Media's in the West, they're repeating ancient Roman strategy to say, give people bread and games. Let them talk. Let them worry about some unimportant things, like those reality shows or whatever. Uh, just turn off from the domestic problems and always put to somebody outside. So bread and games for the people, not to think about their own problems, and always blame somebody else for the stuff that is going on in those countries.
okay,
And it's working. Yeah, that's working for thousands of years.
that's true. And I have one final question. I know we have reached the time limit, but still, there were reports of hitting A50 plane over the Azov Sea, but none of the official resources confirmed that. Can you maybe comment something on the situation, because
I believe
it's really
it didn't happen. It didn't happen. Simply, there was a hit on the tail on that Ilyushin 1822 or 22 version. But see, A50 is electronic. It's a flying radar, so nobody's going to put that plane within the range of any enemy. Air defense, and of course they're talking about friendly fire. Yeah, friendly fire was against that Il-22 because it was flying over the area at the moment where there was a clear danger against declared for the Crimea breach. So it was an unfortunate event, but fortunately the crew survived. A50. If something like that really crashed, it will be search parties, it will be helicopters, it will be radio traffic will be immense, it will be communications, so it will be helicopters in the air, it will be boats in the water searching for the wreck. I simply think that it didn't happen. It is one of those propaganda stuff. Whenever things going bad on the front line, whenever there are casualties on the front line, one side will come with this kind of stuff. And every wonder lasts for 3 days. After 3 days, nobody is going to talk about except those charlatans. I don't want to name them, but they know who they are. So simply.
True.
Simply it didn't happen. They talk about shutting down Kinjals. They talk about that Turkish-made TB2 shut down Tupolev 222 M3. They talk about downing of bombers or transport plane in the beginnings, like with the paratroopers. Just empty stories. Sensationalistic stories for those who want to have to boost their viewing rate on YouTube or name it, those channels. It's simply disconnected with reality.
And here I also noticed I scrolled through Russian segment, and there were some opinion makers. Again, I don't want to mention them, but they were very eager in burying all the crew of that A50, and they were like publishing all those morning videos that, oh yeah, eternal flight to you and so on. So that narrative, I don't know, was it psyops or what? It was very like easily taken by
Yeah.
Russian segment.
Yeah,
Some
I
of the
mean,
people
if
there.
you want to play, you just put the disinformation, and if every lie repeated enough times, may become the truth. So Goebbels said that. Nazi Goebbels, he said that if you repeat every lie enough time, in some minds it will become true. So it is psychological operations are immense, maybe the strongest one in history, and especially because of all of this media doing this, whatever they're doing, and people simply want to boost their popularity, viewing rates, because they're paid to. The commercial companies, they're going to put advertisement or whatever. So money is everywhere. So I will believe in something when I have a confirmation for multiple independent sources. And if somebody from that airport call me and tell me, listen, we lost that airplane, pilot was such and such, co-pilot was such and such. So, but no, I simply don't have that level of information. And I know people who can provide that stuff. Not only in Russia, people who are in intelligence services in multiple countries, and so far nothing.
I see.
So
Well,
it's I if I see the wreck of the plane or the names or the, let's say, videos from the funerals or something that is officially recognized by Russian authorities, yeah, in that case, yes, it credit. I'm always saying credit where credit is due. If they shut down yeah, credit if it's happened. But if it's not happened, it is just one of those stories like Ghost of Kiev or whatever those ghosts
yeah,
they're talking about.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, bear in mind, war is dirty. War is dirty, and those everybody we use any opportunity to profit one or another way. Profit does not mean necessarily to have a income, a monetary income, but also can be viewing rates or comments or whatever. So, and if I remember once I watched Voenaya Priyomka, there was a Konashenko, I think is the Russian Ministry of Defense Port Powell, and he said that you can't hide anything. In the modern times, with all of those assets that we have, mobile phones, name it, internet, all of those social media, you simply can't hide stuff. So it's better to say if something happened, better say, yeah, it happened, and we are going to learn the lesson from that, because it's not the time of the Cold War or Soviet Union where KGB is going to knock on the door and 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 ask, are you listening to the voice of Free Europe or Voice of America or
yeah.
whatever? So that time is gone. Mass media is everybody on the airport, in those bases they have a mobile phones. It will be, some information will eventually get out very fast. So I don't see reason why Russia should, if that happened, and I think it didn't happen. So if they happen, they will simply say that, yeah, it happened. But
Yeah,
because it didn't happen, it didn't happen. So
yeah,
it
because I now recalling the events when other planes were actually shot down, and
yeah,
Russia confirmed that it was
yeah,
confirmed in the news and TASS and RIA News and by
yeah,
Moscow.
exactly. So you can't hide the truth, because in the modern world there is a ways how to how to get there. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, yes, yeah, you have services that will force you to keep quiet. But nowadays, no. And it's all of that stuff. I'm just saying every wonder lasts for 3 days. So it didn't happen, and you will see from time to time it will pop up in the social media. Some of those charlatans will talk about that. Yeah, so be it. Let them talk.
Sure. Okay, then we're finishing then. Thank you, Mike, for a very insightful video. It was very interesting and viewing all this situation, and see you in 2 weeks when
Yeah,
we will be doing a recap again. Thank you very much,
okay.
and
You're
thank you to the
welcome.
audience. I hope you liked it, and bye
Yeah,
bye, everyone. See you.
goodbye.